Hi everyone, it's Jerry. I have a sharp game to share with you from round 6 of the 2025 U.S. Women's Chess Championship. On the white end, Irina Krush playing against Carissa Yip. Carissa won the U.S. Women's Championship in 2021, 23, and 24, and seems to be well on her way to winning it for a 4th time. All right, on board we have a King's Indian defense, and to be a little more exact, after d5, this is the Petrosian Variation, a5, and knight a6 tying well together, interfering with queenside expansion, knight also with an eye on c5, knight in a pin, addressed, knight d2, unmasks the bishop, watches over a possible maneuver into f4. Knight has another path, goes to d7. Thematic break in the King's Indian defense is now nearby. Follow-up here is g4. Now, another move the computer is drawn to is a3. Next up, b4 is an idea. No, you can't take for a second time. After there's no a-pawns, the knight is pinned, the rook is unprotected. Now, if a3 is played here, computer says best is f5, however, proceed with caution. If you play f5 here and white takes on f5, the way to approach this position is not by recapturing with the pawn, nor the rook. Capturing with the rook, either knight has access to the wonderful central post e4. Here's the thing, if you take with the pawn, this move can easily be overlooked. These bishops are covering a lot of ground, and you have to now go into a pin. You're going to be losing the exchange shortly. So you could still play in this way with f5. Just know that should white take on f5, a top response here is to play e4. Very dynamic move. Giving up another pawn, opening up the bishop's eyes, a square for the knight, queen, bishop, this e5 square. And should this pawn be captured with either knight, now you are in a spot to take on f5. A fun little trick here, if bishop h5 in this position, you can swipe this knight with check and then pick up the knight. Okay. My point, you could play f5 here, but be careful not to recapture on f5. There is another path. This is one I found kind of interesting. You could, in response to a3, ask this bishop a little question. Try to kick it off of this diagonal. If it falls back to e3, only then. f5, and you are in a spot to meet pawn takes with a pawn recapture, keeping control over e4 and knowing that bishop h5 will not sting. Queen e7 is there. In the case of the bishop staying on this diagonal, here's another angle, a path you can take here. Knight b6. Couple things going on with this move. The bishop's eyes are opened, and it interferes with b4. If b4 in this position, you can now take twice on b4. The knight on b6 defends the rook. Note in that final position, there'd be two black knights here. There's no fancy fork of both knights. The queen watches over that idea. Anyhow, in this game, we do not see this little baby move, a3. It's g4, knight d to c5, rook g1, discouraging f5. There'd be a pin eventually on the king, so nice prophylactic move, top move, king h8. And from here we have knight f1. Once more, the computer here is drawn to a3. a3 in this position, I don't know if I'm so thrilled about a3 with this idea to clamp down on that b3 square. You do have support over that a4 point. another detail here, I stumbled upon a really interesting continuation. F5 in this position would not be good, but I was surprised to see a certain move. If you play F5 here, yes, there is this pin going on. The top move here would be with bishop H5. Bishop H6 could be met here with rook F6. It still prefers this here for white, but what a weird move this is. It's saying that you could take the bishop in either direction, and you're going to be able to win the piece back. Found that kind of interesting. So, if rook captures bishop here with check, how do you hang on to these two pieces? You can't. Bishop H5, Queen D8 here. One of them will be won back shortly. And with the other capture in this position, bishop captures bishop after rook G6, you will be getting the piece back shortly. A rook exchange, queen recaptures, this bishop will be won. Anyhow, we don't see this F5 move straight away. It's King H8, no A3 knight maneuver, knight F1 it is, F5 only now. Queen D2. So this struck me as a little bit off with this Queen D2 move. I mean, why not maybe first capture on F5? This is the top move, and it would seem to justify that earlier move. Rook G1, file opens up. This is one path the computer's looking at, the capture on F5, followed by knight G3 with an eye on two squares, F5, and this jump on H5. Okay, the tension here remains. We have Queen D2, and from here knight B4 is played. Computer's looking at a capture on E4, or even this more strategic approach, let's say with F4, locking the position up, this last move interfering with the knight, and this dark square bishop to an extent. Nearby, there's now the positional idea to exchange bad for good bishop. This one here now, kind of short on squares, bishop F6 nearby. Okay, we don't see F4. It's knight B4. White continues with bishop E3. Now, the first move that you're sort of itching to play here as white, once knight B4 is there, is A3. Get out of my house. A3 would be a great blunder. Knight B3 is there with the fork. And in the end, you can save this cornered knight because the rook would be coming to life here. Knight under fire as well. So my point, don't try to scare this knight away. We have here bishop E3. Knight captures E4. Knight captures knight. Pawn captures knight. Knight G3. Pop quiz, what is your move here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, this one's going to open up fast. We have knight D3. Makes use of this square before it's no longer available. This pawn's ready to be swiped. All right, knight hops in first. Another pop quiz. How are you responding here? What are your next two moves as white? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, we have bishop captures knight here. There's a reason I was asking you to sort of map out your next two moves. Okay, you capture the knight, that is the way. And in this position, what was your second move? The move in the game is considered best. We have here Queen D3. Now, this was one of my main takeaways with this game. What I was thinking was the correct approach here. I thought knight E4 would be the way. Now, if knight E4 is played in this position rather than the move in the game, queen captures D3, what would be the move here? Feel free to pause the video once more. Okay. In the event of knight E4, B5 is top. In fact, it says if you don't play B5, you're already a little worse. With b5, it calls it about -1. This is good for multiple reasons. You have the bishop pair. Let's open up diagonals, files, knight pawn hitting a bishop pawn. A path has opened up for this unopposed bishop on a6. How would white respond to b5? If you capture, queen recaptures. White has yet to collect that passed pawn. If the queen recaptures d3 right now, you can take on c4, follow up with bishop a6. This will be, the light square bishop, will be a problem piece for white, one way or another. Also, there's an open line for a rook. Know that after bishop a6 in this position, queen captures pawn could be met with queen b5, threatening mate, threatening b2. That will collapse fast for white. King caught in the center. Any other path in response to b5 if knight e4 was played here? I had a look at this c5 move. In the case of c5, it says to take on c5. Meeting bishop captures pawn with rook f3. Yet again, you can't collect that pawn so fast. Kingside structure ready to be broken down. And in the case of knight captures pawn, it says after e4, black is completely winning. -2 and growing. Bishop's eyes opened. Connected pass pawn there on d3. Okay, if queen captures pawn here, you could then look forward to a dynamic pawn play on the queen side. Main point, it's going to be an open position, even if this knight tries to clog things up here in the center, interfering with this push e4 at this moment right here. b5 is a top reply, a key reply. All right, in this game, it is queen captures d3. And now Carissa goes with this pawn sacrifice in the center, e4. Knight captures e4, and from here, queen e5 is played. Now, if you collect this b2 pawn, available is bishop d4 check, bishop exchange, and follow up from here, queenside castles. Nearby for white is this idea to play g5, knight f6 check. That's looking kind of dangerous there for black. So my point, you'll want to take a little more care about this, especially important dark square bishop. No dark square bishop exchange allowed. We have queen e5, and from here the computer's pointing out rook g3, saying be okay if black goes ahead and swipes that pawn. Some lateral defense of the bishop, maybe even the simple square here on f3. Rook f3 moves by black might be there. Okay, no rook g3 move. We have the much more human defense, direct defense of b2. Bishop d7. Another pop quiz. What is your move here? Pause the video if you'd like. Okay, white blunders at this point. Ends up playing king e2. And it's going to get broken down fast after that. The top play here for white is with f4. And in response to f4, here's the first move that's grabbing my attention, an exchange sacrifice. This is one way you can play it. Doesn't say that it's top. Evaluation here is reading about plus 0.9. I'm not sure how this white king ever finds safe ground. Anyhow, that is one way you can approach f4. Another is to simply back off and say this bishop is a little loose now without a pawn supporting it. Computer here wants to step up with the king, go into a pin, babysit the bishop so that you can meet this battery pressure. With the knight retreating, you have defense for it. It runs a little deeper, a line like this, where at the end of the day, we have a minor piece imbalance. Evaluation here reading 0. King g3 seems to be a nice a future parking spot for the king. All right, we don't see in this position right here, f4. this might be one way to at least try to demonstrate, hey, that extra pawn I have is finally doing something. All right. It stays on home base in this one. We have here King E2, position now, lost for white. Rook activity, knight under fire. It's supported here with F3. Now, even with this knight C3 move, considered top, it's reading about minus 1.5. If knight C3 was played, queen H2 is very strong, targeting the pawn on H3, and given the bishop is pinned and has no defensive role, no defensive F2, F2 is under fire here. So something will fall shortly here for white. Saying King D2, collect the pawn, light square problems there for white. Okay, no knight C3 here. We have F3, queen H2 check, knight F2, two minors and a pin. This one here more accessible. Black goes after it, firing away at the pinned piece. Check, King G8. This diagonal shut down. Bishop falls back, targeting the queen, queen H4. Bishop F5. Rook finds safe ground on D1, and the queen comes back to the center. 2 points hit. There's no defense here. Knight E4. I guess good as any. Interfering with queen captures bishop. You don't have rook D3. Knight E4. Knight swiped. B pawn picked up. And the queen simply goes hunting next for C4. In comes E5. Defensive C4, but you can just collect that pawn and you are back on this pinned bishop. The king is simply caught in the center. There's no safety here. Rook G3 in this position. Final pop quiz. What is your move here? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, there's more than one winning path, but this is a nice final touch to this one. We have rook F4 and white resigns. What do you do with the queen? She's dead. Next. And if you don't want the queen to fall, you'd have to play rook G4, and then the bishop simply falls. No saving that. Queen takes rook. You could simply take back. The rook is there to pin the bishop. So a sharp game here out of this King's Indian defense, Petrosian variation. Feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.